Welcome to the Live Action Star Wars Presents Data Link. I'm Ralph.
I'm James.
And yeah, just minutes ago, I realized that the stream was set up for 7:30 p.m. Even though none of
3:30 a.m. my time.
Yeah, nowhere in any of our postings do we ever mention PM.
We knew when we were meant to be here, and hopefully you guys knew when we were meant to be here. But yeah, Jeremy Kelly definitely knew when we were meant to be here.
It's never happened. I don't know why it defaulted to PM.
What a weird week.
Yeah, dude. I gotta tell you, I'm glad. See, people know.
They know. They know.
Like we knew we were gonna do a data link,
mm-hmm.
and we both struggled to like come up with something. My brain is fried.
I was really you've been doing a lot of work on your cool super secret awesome project at the moment. I started my degree properly working on it this week. And so like neither of us had been able to think of anything. And also because Bad Batch is like the new hotness that's coming out at the moment, and there's like nothing else. There was an audio drama for the High Republic came out a couple of weeks ago at the very beginning of the year. So there's no new books, there's no games, like all of it's coming. It's all coming soon. But because the Bad Batch is the only thing, and it's not something that we're going to cover week to week, like there's nothing. There's no news. There's no trailers. There's nothing exciting for us to talk about. And like what would normally be data link material, there isn't anything.
Yeah, I put a question out on my Discord for my Patreon, and I said, "Hey, we're struggling to come up with an idea," and like everybody came up with ideas that were great for the regular show.
Yeah,
it was all like live action stuff, and I'm like, "Oh no, we knew like
off-topic stuff." Like yeah, it's weird, isn't it? We've got a good list of stuff that we can hit on regular episodes. We're never struggling there. But yeah, data link. We just neither of us could think of anything. So what we did is
we are live. Well, we are live on Twitter, so that's good.
Oh, good. Okay.
Because I had no idea.
No,
we're not live on Facebook. Facebook got deleted because it says you need to like do a time that's in the future. I'm like, just freaking Facebook. Come
on. Jeremy Kelly saying here it's always 7:30 a.m. Unless it's not, but then it's always in the morning, which for the most part is true. The reverse for the UK audience.
Right.
Yeah. It's always going to be afternoon, evening, unless I'm like, unless we're doing something super special and we've got a guest on that can only do evening your time. In which case, as long as it works for me,
I don't think we've done that.
We haven't. When I was on Holiday Maneuver Pod, I did it early hours for me.
I think the latest we've done is like noon, and that was with Riley.
Yeah, that's
like our second data link. I'm having my breakfast as we go.
It's a day off for me, so I'm having a beer.
Yeah. So the reason why is I am wearing my shoes right now. Okay. I am dressed right now. This thing is driving me nuts.
Get it.
I'm trying to use the computer monitors. Oh god, sorry, it's gone. In my Cue the Music episode, it was also doing that.
Oh no.
And I'm doing those in 4K now.
Oh no, so it really shows up.
yeah. Thanks to Vector.
Can we do 4K on StreamYard?
Oh no. We can do 1080, but I use my phone to shoot those now. Yeah. So I have my shoes on, and as soon as I hit end broadcast, I am fucking out the door. I am going to Hollywood.
Ooh.
I'm going to try to pick up.
That's big time in us, everybody.
What the Amoeba Records opens at 11 a.m. I'm going to be out the door like 8 a.m. So I got a couple hours. going straight to Hollywood. Gonna pick up the Mondo limited edition Glass Onion vinyl, the limited edition version, but they only have 200 and they open at 11. I'm hoping that people aren't there.
Yeah.
Because, and then after that, I gotta just hang out in LA until 5. Because if I do get the Glass Onion, I get a ticket to meet the composer, Nathan
Oh,
Johnson,
wow.
and his cousin who directed the film, Rian Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully I'll get to meet Rian Johnson today. There is a guy who listens to Cue the Music that works at Amoeba, but I am not asking him for any favors. Like, he keeps telling me this is how much it's going to cost. This is when we open. This is
that's
how
fine. That's all. That's good information, but like, yeah,
but I want to make it clear I am not asking him for favors.
No.
So there's that. I'm going to be in LA all day with nothing to do.
Okay.
And I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot at Amoeba and do a spotlight for Cue the Music. So now we're going to do record store spotlights for any record store I visit. I'm going to shoot some footage and talk about it on my podcast. So,
I mean, that's super cool. And Amoeba's a record store that I've actually been to a long time ago. But yeah, I love that shop. It's awesome there. It's super cool. Derpy's here for the beard content.
Yeah.
Do I need to grow mine back out? I've been keeping it tidy recently. Maybe I'll grow it back out. It's cold here.
Derpy, you have 501st in your username. Are you part of the 501st? We were talking about this last week.
Yeah.
Looking for people from the 501st. What was I going to say? I had... I don't know. I lost it.
It'll come to you.
Oh! You mentioned the audio book or audio drama or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Have you listened to the original Star Wars audio? The radio dramas?
I haven't. No.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a. It's a lot of homework.
Yeah.
But it's all audio.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be perfect for Data Link.
Are they available? Are they available somewhere easily accessible?
Yeah, it was done through public broadcasting. Like it's like
PBS, yeah.
So it's like available. Like you can find it to download. I'm sure you can purchase it places. Probably. But like it's literally like
it's on Audible.
They put it out there. I have a copy. Oh no, I don't have a copy. It's on my hard drive. But I think it's still on my phone. But dude, those are very, very interesting.
Yeah, I know enough about them. I've just never listened to them. Yeah.
It's weird because there's Star Wars music and Star Wars sounds and C-3PO and R2-D2. Mm-hmm. Like it's Anthony Daniels, it's
Mark Hamill's in it, right?
Mark Hamill. Yeah. And then everybody else is different. So it's a little weird to get used to. Mm-hmm. But as you're listening to it, you realize it's none of the stuff from the movie. There's a little bit from the movie, but it's the other stuff that happens. It's the stuff that happens like we hear what's going on in the blockade runner in the other room while the shit's going down. We hear how 3PO ends up in the Sandcrawler.
That's the example that I know about it, specifically is 3PO. We follow 3PO instead of R2.
But then of course it goes
that's cool.
Star Wars, but
is that the same for all three of them?
I don't know.
It takes that perspective. Okay, interesting.
But I think, I mean, usually with data links, we have, 2 weeks between them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do that for the next data link.
If
you can find it.
Let me see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find it first, and then I'll see if I've got time to go through the first one at least in that time. But
no, we don't have to do all of them. I was thinking just Star Wars.
Just that first one. That's what I mean. Yeah, it should be all right.
And I don't know how long it is. I want to say at the most, it's like, I think it's 6 episodes, and they're each maybe a half hour.
Okay. Oh, that's doable then.
Doable. I don't think it's too bad. But it could be. Yeah.
Cool. So you're off to Amoeba Records today. So does that mean that we're going to have a slightly shorter episode if you're going to be out the door early or?
No, it's just when we're done, I'm out the door. So whenever that happens. Cool. Yeah. And then the thing that sucks too is like between the time I leave and between the time they open, Mondo is releasing 3 Toho kaiju scores today,
I got the email.
I'm so mad. Like, why are you dropping 3 at once?
I was gonna say it's gonna be an expensive day for you, right?
Yeah, I'm not happy about it.
No, I bet.
I'm really not happy about it. But what's cool is one of them, the artwork for Rodan is done by Henry Abrams, who's done some Spider-Man books. He did like Mondo's Batman and Michael Giacchino's Travelogue. He's done album artwork for them. I talked to him on May 9th of last year, and I was finally able to upload that episode because they announced Rodan. We talked about Rodan during the episode, which wasn't announced yet. So
had to hold it off until then.
So check that out. This is a big commercial for Cue the Music.
Yeah, everybody, if you're not already subscribed, go and check out Cue the Music. It's a really great show that Ralph does. It's your solo show.
I'm gonna put this in the chat at Cue the Music podcast, and that's how the handles work. Oh, dude, that just went to everywhere. Not Facebook.
Yeah. Twitter. It doesn't look like. I think Twitter is currently disabled as well.
Twitter doesn't do that though. I don't think you can. It doesn't have a comment sheet. But so that's the YouTube handle, and that page is growing pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a really good niche over there as well, and for what you do, it's really, really good. I mean, Lucha, Johnny, if you don't know,
I don't know. Lucha, do you know that I did a kaiju podcast? It's called the Kaiju Podcast. I did it for 4 years with Jorge Garcia from Lost.
Yeah,
check that out.
Yeah, if you want some Godzilla content, hell, even if you do know about it, go give it a re-listen again. Like, just it's evergreen. It's always great. It's always good. It's a show that I go back to. Like, I'll listen to odd episodes of it if I ever happen to be watching an old movie.
They're great because we did a pretty much self-contained. So if you just happen to watch a movie, we have an episode that covers it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to listen to them in consecutive order. No, you're not going to get much from that. But
I mean, there you go. There's plenty of Lucha Johnny didn't know about it, so there's plenty to keep you busy. So I like doing it as a sort of almost like a bonus feature of a movie sort of thing. And I can't say that I'm watching everything, and I'm like, but you guys, you did the deep dive, you did the whole lot.
Yeah, we've got 104 episodes, and then I think like 10 bonus episodes.
It's good stuff.
There's a really good episode we did with Michael Giacchino, a bonus episode where we start talking about Ultraman and then go into talking about stuff that scares us, stuff that scared us as a kid, which is
it a show that you guys would do new episodes of as and when new things get released?
So this show was nuts to produce.
I bet.
Me and Jorge would watch 2 movies.
Yeah.
Record it at the same time. We do back-to-back episodes, so we spend like 2.5 hours recording 2 episodes, and then 2 weeks later or a week later we record 2 more, and we'd get this huge buffer. And so we had a calendar like filled up with what we were going to do,
because this was all while he was on 5-0 as well, right? Like, I'm guessing
some of it. So
it's not like he's just kicking back and not doing anything. He's pretty busy.
So that was the thing, was I was working 3rd shift, he was working in Hawaii, and so we'd get huge buffers. We'd get out, we do 2 at a time every week, and so we were like way ahead. So we would look at the calendar and say, okay, after we record this episode, we're going to pretend like the next episode is Godzilla versus Kong.
Okay.
And then the next time we record, so we got that in mind. We would have a buffer with a hole in the middle.
Yeah.
Then when Godzilla versus Kong came out, record that the week it came out, drop it into the Monday where it belonged. And then the next episode was like, man, wasn't that Godzilla versus Kong great or not great? Because it had been recorded months before.
Yeah.
Like, it was a crazy like schedule. Like my calendar was nuts. And what was fun was considering our schedules, my weird 3rd shift schedule and his working Hawaii schedule, and our different time zones.
Yep.
We released them bi-weekly every other Monday and never missed a Monday in the 4 years.
Well, when we first started live action Star Wars, that was one of the reasons why we were like, we can make this work, because you were still working third shift at the time. I do a 12-hour night shift, and again, vastly different time zones. But it's like, because of the weird hours that we keep, we can make it work. And so it's one of those things that it's like, you'd already done it for years at that point, and you were like, you were coming off the back of that like relatively recently, and we're like, cool, we can do this, we can schedule around it, we can make this work. And that's why the regular episodes of this show, like out of season, are bi-weekly, because we knew that we could bank them. And then obviously we very quickly shifted to a live thing, and we're like, well, we could just make this work.
That was the thing. I think there was an Invincipod and Kaiju Pod overlap, and I'm like, this is fucking stupid. I don't need another podcast. And then Kaiju Pod ended, and Invincible was like, I don't know when one's going to come out. And so I'm like, okay, let's do Star Wars, and we'll do it bi-weekly. And then that's how we were doing it. I don't know if we're recording 2 at a time, but we were releasing it every other week, so we would get ahead.
Yeah.
And then I think we let's just do live.
Yeah.
It's like a quarter of the work doing it live.
It works. It works so great. I don't know. And it's nice being able to have this interaction with our live action loyalists. It's really good. And that sort of is what this episode, because we couldn't think of anything else, as you can tell, we don't need a topic to be able to just chat. Yeah. And on a data link, it's nice being able to go off topic. It's nice when I'm not at work, like I'm not today. So I'm not in any rush. I'm like not trying to keep us on topic about anything. So we could just have these cool chats, and it's nice to be able to do it every now and then. So we couldn't think of anything. So we kind of just put it out there on Twitter and on Instagram and stuff, and just sort of tried to pose some questions. It was like, what do you guys want us to talk about? So if you're watching us live, please, anything that you want to ask us, we'll star it and we'll get to it like in between. But if you want to ask us anything about anything, really, like Star Wars, cool, on topic, but if about anything, we're just here to chat. And then I'm sure that will just lead into conversations about other nonsense. But we did get a few responses from, let's go to Instagram first. Adam McLaren, the amazing Adam, who sent us our phone cases. I've since got a new phone, so I don't have it on this phone, but it is, you can't really see it. It's behind R2 and BB8 just here. My phone case.
Yeah, I see it.
My Wedge Antilles phone case. I love it. It's so cool. And you've got your Bosk as well. Great phone cases, does loads of cool custom stuff. Go and check out his Instagram page for all of the cool stuff and order something. He's got new nameplates I saw the other day that look amazing. He asked on Instagram, what is our favorite original trilogy background character? I don't know if you've got one off the top of your head that you can pull.
Does Wedge count?
See,
he's got speaking lines. To
me, he's not a background character. Yeah. But I can see to like a casual fan who doesn't sort of go deep on any of it.
I mean, he literally has.
He's not in the background at all. He's in all 3 films. Like George Lucas specifically asked Dennis Lawson to fly to wherever it was that they shot the Ewok celebration so that he could be there and things like that. Like, I don't think Wedge is a background character, but some of the other Rebel pilots, I'd say like John Ratzenberger in Empire, kind of a background character.
A little bit.
A little bit. Like Torin Farr would count as a background character, I'd say. Has a line, but like isn't really a featured character in Echo Base. I'm stuck in Echo Base apparently.
I feel like for both of us, it's either gonna be like some sort of alien or like some sort of like officer or something.
Trooper. I do love not quite as much as the guys over on Star Wars Minute, but I do like Imperial officers. Again, definitely not a background character, but Admiral Piet is a favorite of mine.
I love Admiral Piet.
He's great. But yeah, like I don't know. It's a hard one.
I know.
You've got yours. You've got
because mine I have a phone case of.
Oh, okay. So you think
Bossk is a background character? Bossk literally
all of them, other than Boba Fett, they are all background characters, I suppose, aren't they?
Yeah.
And
I'm not like a bounty. I'm a good guys. I like the good guys, but
we both do.
Like I really like Bossk.
Like I think
he's so cool.
A lot of people would say like Wilrow Hood. I think Wilrow Hood is like a key one because of he's a meme. He's a meme character like these days. And I get it. But yeah, no.
That's the thing I used to like and used to show people in my widescreen version of Star Wars. And then it was like a fun inside joke, and then it snowballed into too much.
I've got one. Mine is in the cantina, and it is Boshek.
Oh,
Boshek is mine.
Pilots are cool.
Pilots are cool. He might be Corellian. I can't remember.
Both their guys have flight suits.
Yeah. I mean, you think about background characters, and you got to think about like the cantina, the bounty hunters, Jabba's palace, those sorts of scenes where like the cool, colorful scenes. I mean, Bespin as well. Like, so yeah, like all of these sorts of places have interesting looking background people. And I was just thinking through the cantina people, and I was like, I really like the Ithurian. Like we all know and love him as Hammerhead because of the toys. And I think the cantina is the epitome of cool, interesting things.
It's one of my favorite things in Galaxy's Edge. In Galaxy's Edge, there's a like an antiques shop called Doc Ondar. Yeah. And Doc Ondar is a Thorian, and they have a big animatronic of him, and he's up there making the sound. I could stare at that thing all day long.
It's really
all day long.
And Doc Ondar has also been featured in some books and stuff as well, like as a character. Oh, yeah? It might be the Galaxy's Edge tie-in book, which was written by, I want to say it was Delilah Dawson. It was whoever wrote the Captain Phasma book. And there's some crossover there, so it's like it's interesting. I thought it was just gonna be a cheap tie-in novel, but it ended up being actually quite a cool book. I quite liked it. It was a good it tied in with all the story with what's her name, who's at like the rebel like character who's at Galaxy's Edge.
Vi Moradi?
Right, yeah. It's her story. It's her and everything like that. It's pretty decent book. I quite liked it. And yeah, Doc Ondar's in it, and I think he's popped up in some other things as well. Maz Kanata's castle, another great background character place. There's some interesting people there. I don't know them as well. I don't know names of those guys as much.
No, have they done a book? I'm surprised they haven't.
No,
Tales from Maz's Castle.
I think it wouldn't surprise me if there's a comic. I haven't read it yet, but last week or the week before, through Dark Horse, now that like some of the licenses back over at Dark Horse, there was a comic which was like Tales from the Rancor Pit, just as like a one shot. So I'm gonna read that, but yeah, I'm hoping that gives me some of that sort of feel of those 90s Tales of books, because they're great. There's Tales of the New Republic is down there somewhere. Really good one. But yeah, Boshek, again, going back to comics, had a really good run in, I think it was Star Wars Tales, old Dark Horse anthology book, came out quarterly, and like over the course of a couple of years, there was like a short story in each of those following Boshek, and it was like really elevated the character for me. But yeah, that would be my answer for that. I liked it. Literally, Johnny's asking a bunch of questions. Let's get to one of those.
Can I do this one? I like this one.
Yeah, hit it.
Who's an actor that hasn't been? Oh, I mean, you could read it, I guess. Who's an actor that hasn't been in Star Wars that you like to see in a role? I have one.
You got it off the top of your head, okay?
And it's a specific role too that I wish this actor would have been in, and I probably mentioned it before, but I would have liked to have seen Kurt Russell as Tobias Beckett.
Ooh, that'd been good. Yeah. Obviously, it's got the Han Solo connection and like the fact that he auditioned. I like that a lot. I think that's really good, especially when they had to do the recasting. Yeah. Like they changed that character about, didn't they? I like that a lot. I'm sure I've got something better. But I just watched Nope for the first time the other night. Really enjoyed it. And it's like every time I see Daniel Kaluuya, I'm just like, this guy's awesome. He's got every time he's in something, he's playing it kind of differently between like Get Out, Black Panther, and this and stuff.
I haven't seen Get Out. I need to see Get Out. But I just saw Nope a couple weeks ago. That movie was awesome.
It's so good. I think it's my favorite of his movies, of Jordan Peele's movies so far. I've liked all three. I'm not a big horror guy, but I like his take on it.
I'd probably watch it again, but like the Gordy stuff is so disturbing.
That's fucked up. Yeah. Again, it's a movie that not everyone's seen yet, and I don't want to say anything about it because I think the less you know.
But what's good is if I were to say like, I think Jean Jacket looked incredible. It's no one knows what we're talking about if you haven't seen Nope.
No, that is a great Jean Jacket.
And then Gordy, no one knows who Gordy is, but when you see it, those words are like imprinted into your brain.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, it's no joke.
Yeah. It's not. It's fucked up. It's like, I think it's the least horror of his 3 movies that he's directed.
Yeah, I'm not a horror fan.
No, I'm not. But like, and I think all 3 of them have done, I think Us is probably like the most straight up horror. Get Out is more like psychological. And it's got some horror and sort of suspense elements to it. And I could make comparisons to other things, but even doing that, I feel like gives some of it away. If you haven't seen Nope yet, everybody go check out Nope. It's really, really good.
So my sister, Sarah, who showed up, I don't know if she's still here. She doesn't like Aliens.
Okay. The movie Aliens. Or aliens just in general. Okay. The concept
aliens. Aliens. Like Star Wars aliens are fine, but like classic Greys. I think she could watch Nope.
I think so.
We watched Signs. We watched Signs once. Yeah. And she's like, I don't want to watch it if it's aliens because it's, oh wait, hold on, we're all present buttons. And Stevie flat out said there are no aliens in it. And I'm like, holy shit, here we go. And we put it on. And guess what's in Signs?
Yeah, that one I don't mind spoiling. It's old enough.
But yeah.
Have you seen the trailer for Shyamalan's new one? I can't remember.
The Knock at the Door?
Yeah.
I'm not watching the latest trailer. I haven't watched a movie of his since like The Lady in the Water, maybe?
I don't even think I saw that. I saw his the movie that shall not be named about one of my favorite properties of all time.
Oh yeah,
his that movie that just doesn't exist. And then after that, I was like, nope, I'm out. See you later. Don't need to worry about you anymore.
But
and I
apparently the latest
they liked Switch or whatever it's called, the McAvoy one.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Split. That was really good.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Glass.
No, I think it was more of a it's fine, but
because I love Unbreakable.
Unbreakable's
my favorite.
It's really good. But yeah, no, that trailer, I was like, oh, this is the new M Night one, and I'm just like, and then I watched
the latest trailer shows too much.
Okay, so that was the only trailer. I'm guessing it's the latest one. It's the only trailer I've seen, and it does show quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I was like, I might check it out. I'm not going to pay money and go to the cinema to see it, but like,
right.
I'll check it out if it's streaming somewhere.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's all right.
Jimmy Clay watch old. Yeah. Signs definitely has an alien in it. I can't believe she just flat out lied.
I think I've just wow, this is an old memory. Did you guys talk about The Happening on a Dharmalaz episode once?
Yeah, and the title was The Crappening.
The Crappening. I remember that specifically, and I've always referred to it as The Crappening because of that episode.
That was probably the last of that run that I watched.
Yeah.
And then
I feel like that was
Split because I heard it had a tie into Unbreakable, and I freaking like Unbreakable, dude. I love Unbreakable.
Mm-hmm. I've not watched it in a long time. I loved it at the time. Like I loved it.
Give it a rewatch.
Does it still hold up?
It's a real slow burn. It's really good.
Yeah. It's back when like Bruce Willis made movies that he gave a shit about.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing is his whole thing was he was like gotten some shit deal where he was going to be in this insanely awful movie,
Mm.
and Disney like came to him and said, "Okay, well, we'll kill this movie, but you have to do a 3-picture deal with us." And so the first one was The Kid,
Yeah.
which I haven't really seen. The
I
second one was Armageddon,
okay.
a huge hit for him, and the
Yeah.
third was Sixth Sense, huge hit for him.
Wow.
So that deal worked out for him. And because Sixth Sense was such a huge deal and like a phenomenon, he's like, okay, I'll do M. Night's next, which was this crazy like comic book movie that no one was saying was a comic book movie.
Yeah. And it was when sort of comic book movies you say that, and it was like a derogatory term. Like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of comic book movies where they try to ground it in reality. I feel like this is the most grounded in reality.
For sure.
And what's crazy is by the end of it, you're like, oh no, this is like you got like a crazy maniacal villain and a superhero.
Yeah.
And it the
It's
whole
right
time
there.
they're talking about it,
Mhm.
and you're like, oh,
It's
like,
and I
oh,
feel like
so good.
because of that was what 99 that film came out.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then like there was a run in comic books themselves, like just after that, early 2000s of like really grounding superheroes. I'm thinking of Powers, which is just I've got the first hardcover just there. Powers, Bendis's book with Michael Oeming, was a key one of that. It's like, yeah, there are superheroes in this book, like the boys kind of to an extent when that first started.
Mhm.
But it's like it's the other side of it. It's grounding it in reality. Like Powers is just a police procedural, but with superpowers.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's what I like about Invincible.
yeah,
Is it's like it's the real world, but there's like superheroes and supervillains and people
and they
just kind of
they
do their
just
day to
exist.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Fuck, I can't wait for Invincible to come back
It's gonna be soon. I'm dreading it a little bit
because of the logistics. I know what you mean. I'm dreading that side of it. Like,
yeah, I got this project. I'm hoping. So we're doing another session at the end of this month. I don't think it'll interfere with this show. The schedule's the same as the last time. So again, I might come home at 7:40. So I don't know if that week we could start at 8.
I mean, it's like if it's a week that I'm off, then we'll schedule it for like a week, like a later time, just to give you some buffer.
Yeah, I think it's your next pick is when that's going down. I want to say maybe
that would be data link. Then that's
the first. I think
the first, February 1st. I'm at work. Bummer.
Okay.
Yeah,
we could figure it out.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
we'll sort something out. Yeah. Maybe we could do the Tuesday. I know I'm at work. I'm at work. Yeah, of course, and you're definitely there.
Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday.
We'll figure it out. We've got time to figure that out. This is that's the less interesting side of what we do here.
Let's go to do you want to?
I've got another one. Let's get one from Instagram. Another one here. Scott Dickens asked, "Did you ever make your own Star Wars fan films, videos, recreations of any sort?" I think we touched on this a little bit when we have covered other things like that in the past.
I think the closest I've gotten to is taking pictures of like action figures when I was a kid. I definitely somewhere I have pictures of like a biker scout in like the front yard.
Yeah.
In the grass. Like,
yeah. That's similar sort of thing. For me, I definitely did that, but I don't think I took pictures of it. If I did, I wasn't like getting in like super close and trying to like frame it up or anything. I ended up, because my brother and sister are 9 and 7 years older than me, respectively. So they grew up and were buying Kenner stuff from the racks, like as they were coming out. So they had a fair amount of Star Wars figures that were then like I inherited, and then I grew that collection exponentially by like going and hunting it down. I've talked about it before. It was something that me and my dad did. We'd go to like toy fairs and little old stores in the 90s when like it was really hard to find this stuff. and it was something that I loved doing. And so I had way more than they ever had originally from hunting it down. And so, but like the house that I first lived in, my first house, where they were younger kids, they would play with toys, and then like stuff would just get buried in the grass. So like occasionally I'd be like fucking around in the garden, and I'd like come across. I remember distinctly finding, like, I'd find stuff in the grass, and then I distinctly remember finding the helmet of the Luke in like Stormtrooper disguise.
Oh,
in like under the stairs behind a box, like just covered in dust. And I found it, and it was like the joy of that year. I must have been like 4 or 5 or something, and I just found it, and I was like, I know exactly what this is, and I was elated because I had the figure, but like the helmet had been like lost to time, and then I found that helmet, and yeah, it's the greatest. But for me, I never made any sort of fan films or recreations or anything, but like the closest that I came to it was I made like my first sort of thing about like filmmaking or anything was like playing with the Micro Machines when they were doing like Star Wars Micro Machines.
Oh man,
I had one of those like the fold out sort of sets, and I think it was like Tatooine and stuff like that. And I remember having a bunch of those and doing like really, really rudimentary like stop motion with those using. I was probably using a video camera at the time, but like I was like then stop start. And doing that, it must have probably, I was only like 5-6 seconds long because of how long it would take to do things. But yeah, I remember doing that. And that was the closest that I ever came to it. That was, again, lost to time, lost to moves and dead parents and things like that. It was just like, yeah, no idea where any of that is now, but I think that's the closest I came to it.
Speaking of Micro Machines, Lucha Johnny asks, what's your favorite Star Wars ship, land, vehicle, tech? I of all the Micro Machines I have, there's one inside Toily's roll.
Yep.
And that is a snow speeder.
Love it.
Which is one of my favorites. But my favorite and the other Micro Machine I have is the Blockade Runner.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Those Micro Machines were great because they came in like 3 packs, didn't they? You got like a 1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
You got like a good guy, a bad guy, and then like a bigger ship or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they were really
like a
good.
TIE fighter, a Star Destroyer, and then like I think a Death Star. It wasn't to scale, but they did have an uncompleted Death Star. But yeah, the Blockade Runner. I mean, Y-Wings for me. Oh, I have a Y-Wing too. Mm-hmm. Like I have 3 Micro Machines. They're somewhere in that drawer right there.
I don't think I've got any. Maybe I do, but I don't think I've got any of mine anymore.
But the Blockade Runner, I've always just loved it. And seeing it in the Rise of Skywalker was such a thrill.
It lifts out the forest.
Episode 3. Yeah. And episode 3. Like it was such a thrill to see that.
It's one of those ships that no matter when it pops up, it's great now, I think. It doesn't, it's not diluted. Yeah, I like it. For me, yeah, Lucha Johnny's got not exactly, but for me, for the Imperial side of things, the TIE Interceptor. I love TIE Interceptors.
Yeah.
Squints. And yeah, like that one, I think probably came from the Micro Machines. I think that might be the first time that I got like, when I sort of really studied the thing and thought how cool it was. I remember buying like the X-Wing miniatures game. I bought a bunch of those when I was working at Forbidden Planet because I could get them cheap, and I just kind of wanted to fuck around with the interceptors.
I'm gonna see if I can bring up a picture here. So this is from the Advent calendar, which my sister got me.
Oh, cool.
For Christmas, or before Christmas, but it's a Star Wars Lego. Oops. Yeah, so let's do this. And this was one of the days.
Hey, love it.
It's like this big. It's like a little Lego that this is this big.
I think up on the top of that shelf, I think somewhere there might be an interceptor, like a slightly bigger Lego interceptor, like still like a little mini kit one, basically. But yeah, one of those, and I think there is a TIE fighter up there as well somewhere.
Because if you look how tiny that is, like it's like this big.
Yeah.
But they somehow figure out how to make these things. I'm so excited.
They are great.
I mean, listen, I think they might be too expensive, but I highly recommend. And I'm not like a religious person,
No.
but I do celebrate the fun of Christmas.
Yeah.
And that advent calendar, that Lego advent calendar is so much fun.
Well, I've never had one. Every time that they've come out, I've been like, oh, I really like that, and sort of dropped some hints. But I've never had one. But I like them a lot. The last couple of years, we've had an escape room advent calendar that I've got for Liz for like before Christmas. So every day is like a little escape room type puzzle. That was tons of fun. The exit games ones, we've done those. Really good.
I'm gonna show another one. Hold on, because this one blew me away. This was one of my favorites. Share screen, do that, I do that. Okay, sure. A little teeny.
Oh wow, that is cool.
How fun is that? And then look at really C3PO cool. Back there.
Yeah, with his Christmas sweater.
Christmas sweater with R2D2, and there's an R2D2 with a. And then if you look in the very back,
Darth Vader
with the tank top, and he's making the sandcastle, but the sandcastle is Darth Vader's castle.
Lego, they get it. I like you're not a massive Lego guy in terms of like building big sets and things like that, but
no.
But like the Lego branding and we talked about it when we had Ed on to talk about the game and things like that. Like their level of humor, I think, strikes the right chord with us. That I really like the shorts that they've done on Disney Plus. That's awesome. I really like that. And like I think does that tie in with the holiday special that they did? Was he wearing that vest?
The summer special.
Yeah, the summer special. Yeah. That's great. I love it.
So funny.
They are expensive, and Lego in general is expensive. I've got the A-wing down there, and then
oh my god,
the probe droid as well. There's a few that I always want, but I can never justify the cost.
Yeah, one more. Let's do this.
Oh, the T14.
Yeah,
love it. That's cool. Like, and again, with those advent calendars, they get kind of deep with some of it. It's like, it's quite specific. Right. Like, casual people aren't necessarily going to know that that's Luke's T14 that he used to ball to want frats with.
But what's good, too, is they kind of treat it as an army builder as well.
Yeah.
So, you
get figures.
She's gotten me the set for, I think, the last 3 years. And each year they come with a clone trooper, a battle droid, and a stormtrooper.
Brilliant.
And this year had a snow trooper as well. So we have sort of a diorama. I'll have to post it sometime of just all our Star Wars shit. And it's just getting filled with minifigures. Then I have a little section off to the side with Poe Dameron and his coffee cup and his Christmas sweater, hanging out with Zori Bliss from another thing that I got. And we got a Hera hanging out with, Lieutenant Beck.
Did they do a Ghost? Did they do the Ghost when Rebels was coming out? Did they do it like a big Lego set?
I think they did a big one, but they had a little Ghost, one of those ones where it looks like a little sort of Power Wheels ride-on.
Oh, with the dude sticking out the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when they started doing those. Yeah.
So I got Stevie that because I like the minifigures.
Yeah.
So I was able to get a Hera minifigure, but yeah, I got that. And then we have I have 2 Han Solos. Mm-hmm. I have Harrison Ford. I have Alden Ehrenreich. I have a couple. I have a Chewbacca, a couple R2s. It's fun.
That's fun. Cool.
Oh, and then every advent calendar has a Gonk droid that's dressed up in some sort of holiday theme.
If the Ghost pops up, as I think we all expect it to in Ahsoka,
oh man, it's gonna be so cool.
It's gonna be so cool. Well, like obviously we've caught glimpse of it in Rogue One and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if we get it in that and it's like featured, then if they do like an Ultimate Collector series of the Ghost of that sort of quality, that would be an expensive, like big set that I would definitely consider getting. Like with the Ghost, with one of the the Phantom or the Phantom 2 sort of thing, like as a little.
So
I'd drop a couple £100 on that.
Christmas morning at Sarah's house, and she got for Christmas the Cantina.
Oh, I've seen it on Instagram. I've seen some of the pictures. It's so cool.
It's too much. It's so big.
I don't think pictures can really sort of showed the scale of that thing because it folds out as well, right? It opens out like a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wicked.
Yeah. Oh, and so many minifigures.
Yeah.
It's got a ton of minifigures, and I'm like, oh man.
It's a lot.
It makes me wish I had a lot of minifigures. I just love the minifigures so much.
Yeah.
I don't have any up here.
I've got what we got up there? I've got a Thrawn Lando Old Han.
I have a Thrawn wooden toy that my sister got me from Galaxy's Edge.
Nice.
And it's like a little crazy old
little posable. Yeah,
toy. Lucha, let's do this one. How did you two end up connecting to do podcasting? I think you should field that one.
Okay, I filled that one.
I've promoted enough of my shows this episode.
So I've listened to Ralph since the Lost Days. Since Dharma Lars was, one of the top podcasts in the world at the time. And number 4. It was right there.
Film.
Yep. So I came to Dharma Lars through Transmission first. Transmission, and then probably Jay and Jack next. I'm not sure, but it was Transmission was
Seems to be right.
That's seems to be the general transition that people go through. Transmission, Jay and Jack, Dharma Lars, and then I listened to a few, but I don't think I was subscribed to Scott and Steve. And then Colleen Show, Metro Buzz, and things like that. So there was that entire family of podcasts, and there were still message boards at the time. So it grew from there. Met Ralph at San Diego, briefly in line for thing. I remember we were chatting about comics and stuff no, but you've been to so many and you've done so many of those things. Yeah. Whereas that was the one time I went to San Diego Comic-Con sort of thing. And it was cool hanging out with these people that I've been listening to for years. And everyone there was so awesome and cool. So I've been in contact with all of you guys. I've been friends on Twitter mostly. I think Facebook probably when I was still using that. But friends on Twitter with everyone from that Lost community for forever. And, it was just passing friendships and we'd all be sort of seeing what everyone was doing in that time. I have done a few other smaller podcasts and stuff over the years. I've done a couple of shows at different points in time.
What about that Star Wars podcast?
The one that never happened.
How many did you record?
We've recorded 3.
I thought you recorded a bunch. I thought you recorded 30 or something. No.
We never got that far. So friend of the show, Ed, and I were going to do... So before that, during the lockdown when everyone was either laid off or on furlough over in this country, we were just looking for things to do and we were trying to connect online. And me and friend of... He's not really a big Star Wars guy, so he doesn't really watch this, but he's popped in a few times. Our friend Mitchell and Ed, who does watch and listen to us, and we've had him on the show. We were fucking around. We sort of came up with our Lonely Boys name troupe because we were talking about pro wrestling and what we would be if we were a trios tag team. We were all poking fun at ourselves in sort of the very British self-derogatory way. We're just the Lonely Boys, but with a Z. And so we were talking about that, and that was the 3 of us. And so we started doing a thing, and we're we should do a show. We make each other laugh a lot whenever we're playing video games or whatever online. And me and Mitchell had both grown up watching Boy Meets World. So we started a show. Ed had never seen it. So we watched Boy Meets World and talked about it every week. And we did that. We did the first season of that show. We have a Christmas episode that we recorded 2 and a bit years ago, maybe 3. Yeah, we recorded it 3 years ago. It was meant to come out then, it didn't. And then for the last 2 years, it's just been a long running joke that we've got a Christmas episode that's never come out because Ed would meticulously edit these episodes. But just taking seconds at a time. He is an editor by trade. And so
I did that with Kaiju Pod.
Yeah. And it got to the point where he was getting backed up, and then we all went back to work. We all started working again. So he fell behind in editing this stuff. We had episodes banked for a long time. And so that show just sort of dropped off the face of the earth. But I was, after 10, not quite 10 years, maybe 5 or 6 years of not doing any podcast, I was back in that mode, and I'd already been wanting to do more before that. And so around that time, you were doing your Patreon show talking about The Mandalorian. I always am tweeting about Star Wars a lot. You'd seen that I was tweeting about Star Wars a lot, and that I was also doing another podcast.
I think what happened was, like, I on Facebook and on Instagram and stuff, I follow a lot of people from the Lost days.
Yeah.
And some of them get run together.
Yep.
And like, I'll tell Stevie like about somebody, and they're like, "Who's that?" "Oh, it's one of the old Dharmalar guys." And so something happened, and there was an announcement for Invincible getting a series. And somehow either you remembered I liked Invincible, or I remembered you like Invincible. Like, there's not a lot of Invincible fans out there that I follow, but James is the Dharmalar's fan who likes Invincible.
We talked about Invincible, like standing in line outside San Diego and stuff like that. Yeah. I remember that specifically.
So that announcement happened.
Yeah.
And I clearly remember this was Instagram.
Yeah.
That we were back and forth talking about how exciting it is and how crazy it is they're doing an Invincible series. It's going to be done right.
Wow, because I had an Instagram account when it first started in 2012 or whatever. And then I went dormant. I left Instagram completely for a long time until after my divorce. And then I got back on Instagram basically because it was more fun and it was a nice way to meet new people. And, it ended up being quite a good social platform to try and meet people. And so I was then back on Instagram, and it's now become my primary social media that I use. I'd say more than
this
Twitter.
Was after,
but yeah, this was.
Was this after you being on?
It must have been
the Patreon. Yeah,
it must have been because I think you reached out to me about being on the Patreon Star Wars episode for Mandalorian. And then it probably sparked something because maybe we mentioned Invincible on there something. Or just when we were chatting before or after. And then that maybe triggered a thing in you that you're like, oh yeah, you're the one who likes
There was a conversation with you and me on Instagram where within about 15 minutes, I had secured the domain and the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram handles for Invincipod.
Yep. That is, it went from there isn't a show, like I guessed it on your Patreon show, to we're doing a podcast. We've got it all set up. Everything is we're ready to go. Let's go.
Because I looked it up.
It happened.
I looked it up. I was like, does anybody have the handle Invincipod?
Yep.
Well, I do now. I'm saying it's available.
Yes, we have to do a podcast. Yeah.
And it was seriously within a half hour of hey, they're doing a show. Hey, we're doing a show.
Yeah. So are we. Because no one else, there wasn't Invincible podcasts out there.
No.
That was the other thing. There wasn't any official recap shows. No one was doing a fan podcast at the time. I don't think there's many now, but there is definitely a few out there since the show started. But there was none at the time. So we're sweet, we can try and find an audience that way.
And we had known it was going to be a short season.
Yeah.
And I was still doing Kaiju Pod at the time. And I was like, fuck, what am I doing? But I knew Kaiju Pod was coming to a close, and it took a while for Invincible to actually air. Yeah. And then we found out it was going to be 8 episodes or whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, this is doable. And then Invincipod was over for season 1.
Yep.
Kaiju Pod was done. Dharmalars was done. We were finished doing whatever we were doing at the time. Probably Sweet Tooth or some shit. I don't remember.
You hadn't quite started Sweet Tooth yet, I don't think.
I went from 4 podcasts to I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm
for the first time in 16 years or something at that time?
Something like that. And I was I guess I'm I like doing them with James. Maybe
I remember I think I remember you saying I've got nothing to do. Should we do a different show? And I remember, I think it was when they were advertising Loki. Yeah. And I was just I don't know what's coming out, what's new, thinking that we should do something current and new. And I was like, Loki without really much enthusiasm, and you're like, nah, I'm all right.
But you were doing your Star Wars show, and you were doing it. The concept was chronological Star Wars, like across the board, everything. And I was like, that sounds like a nightmare. I said, I'm not into covering all of Clone Wars.
It was going to be all the show
or Rebels.
So it was my way of trying to get Ed to watch Mandalorian because he hadn't seen he'd worked on the first season of Mandalorian, and he was super excited about it before it came out. And to this day, that dude has not watched, I don't think, a single episode of The Mandalorian. And so it was my way of trying to get him to watch those shows. And then he was like, I've never really fucked with the animated series either. And I was like, Rebels is so good. You should go through it. And then he was like, I kind of want to watch Clone Wars as well. I was like, cool. All right, I'll watch Clone Wars again. And so we started going through
so much.
And there's so much of it. But I think Pablo Hidalgo has posted like the actual like chronological order of those episodes because that was shown kind of out of order. It's on Disney Plus, kind of out of order. And so we were like, fuck it, let's do everything, all the shows in chronological order. And we recorded a few episodes. He got super busy. And by that point, like a few weeks into recording episodes of that, because we wanted to have them banked because we knew that we couldn't put them out. A few weeks into recording that, you and I started live action Star Wars. And then from there, he was like, yeah, we're just like, he was super busy. I think the intention was always that we were going to come back to it and do it as well, but it just never really happened. And so now it's just like, I don't feel the need to do that because I'm getting my Star Wars fill with this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's.
And I was like, I don't want to talk about Star Wars. I don't want to like do a minute format like Star Wars Minute.
They've got that covered. I
like what I had with Kaiju Pod. Let's do it every other week. We can record 2 at a time or do whatever. And then I don't know why I got into the video podcasting. I think it's because of Jay over at Geek Dad Life.
Yeah. Well, it's because I think the first time that we did a podcast, like, because you were still doing stuff on Skype at the time, I needed to reinstall Skype for the first time in probably 15 years to do that because I just didn't really use it. Yeah. And then I think the first time that we set up a call, like I hit the video and you were like, oh, you want to do video? And I was like, I mean, sure, we can. And then
because our Invincipods are all audio podcasts, with the exception of the most recent one, which is like 2 years ago. That's a video podcast. And so I'm like, oh, recording it like this is easy. And we started recording live action Star Wars and then releasing them on Mondays or whatever we released them on.
I think Friday at first.
I don't remember, but once we started doing stuff live, I'm like, yeah, this is the fucking way to go.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier because
so much better.
Especially with the data link, because when we're done here, I don't have to transfer to audio to put on the audio feeds.
It's already done. It's done. You're finished. You're out the door. Like
I'm out the door.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. You mentioned the Minute podcast. So yeah, Lucha Johnny, that's the origin story. That's our secret origins. Not so secret. It's all done pretty much via podcast. Like there's a few times, like I remember when we came up with this podcast, like I was at work, I was doing the job that I'm currently doing still. And I was on patrol, I was walking around the site, and I remember like messaging you, and I was like, bang, done. And it was very similar to Invincipod, where it went from we didn't have anything to we had a show with a title and a format, like a loose like idea of a format and a release schedule, like within a sort of a 15-20 minute period. Like it's from that I was like, that's when I was like, no, me and Ralph have a good rapport, because it's like if we're gonna do it, let's fucking do it. And like bang, 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 bang. No fucking around and putting things off or making plans to do things in the future. It's like, just do it.
Yeah. And what's funny is I talk about the people, the Dharmalars people in my sort of social network, and not really like being like in constant contact with like you. Over the years. What's funny is there is someone else who is in that same boat. Me and him have been Facebook friends since Dharmalar's days.
And
the algorithm never really told me what he was up to the algorithm never told him what I was up to.
Wow.
And then I had him on my podcast. I'm like, hey, if anybody wants to be on my Patreon show, right this second, hit me up and I'll get you a Skype link. I've done it a couple times, impromptu interviews.
Yep.
And this guy Taylor is like, yeah, I'll do it. Cool. Here's my Skype address. I'll record it. I'm going to post it today. Meet me here in 20 minutes.
Right.
Jump over to his Facebook page. I'm like, how do I know Taylor? I think he's a Dharma Lars guy.
Yeah.
Directed the last Blockbuster, a documentary that was just about to be released.
Mm-hmm.
Directed Pick It Up Ska in the 90s, and there was another.
Love that.
I'm trying to think of the other one.
There's another one that I can't think of off the top of my head.
So we jump on.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Holy shit! You directed a documentary about Last Blockbuster. Did you know? Like I do. It came from the VCR. I'm at VHS, dude. Ever?" And he's like, "What? What are you talking about?" He directs a movie about Blockbuster Video. I'm VHS, dude. We've been friends on Facebook. The algorithm hasn't let us know.
That's when you know that the computers aren't working properly.
And so, because of that, newfound friendship, or the rekindling of a friendship, I am currently working on a project with him. So it's really funny how this shit works out, because this project is nuts.
And it's I love Lost for the show. We talked about this. I love the show Lost, but I love everything that Lost has done as well as that. Like, one of my closest friends in the world, I'm closer with because of the shared love that we had of Lost at the time and talking about it every week. All of you guys, like, it might be only like a very brief interaction or a quick online thing every now and then, but like, you and I now have a podcast that we do every week. But
that's the funny thing about Lost is there's flashbacks, there's past connections with people that you meet in the future that you didn't know back then.
Yeah.
Like Taylor, like you. But also there's a picture of me from Comic-Con 2005 where I'm standing in line with my friend Lenny and we're just hanging out. A picture is taken of me from Ben, and in the background is my friend Steve, who I wouldn't have met until after Vine, when I started doing VHS Dude on Vine. And I sent him this picture. I'm like, this is you, right? This is you from like 15 years ago. He's like, dude, what the fuck? And Steve is a huge Lost fan, and Steve is going to be in this project.
That's amazing. I love that.
So there's too many context clues being talked about with this project. I'm sure
I remember like you and Michael Giacchino are friends now, like beyond anything like professional. Like, you guys are just friends. I think I remember the first time you talking about Giacchino on Dharma Lars, and like he poked his head around the curtain at a Comic-Con panel, and you
he was going up.
You clocked that it was him, and you just yelled out, yeah. Again, a weird story, that and the crappening story, and like two things that stand out to me from the Dharma Lars days as a fan of that show.
So, okay, I'll tell that story. So Giacchino was at the Lost panel. He wasn't part of the panel, but he was sitting in the front row with a VIP guest. And instead of me walking over there and saying hi to him, I just yell, Giacchino. And he looks up and waves and whatever. He's like with family and stuff. So cut to a couple years later, I get or it's probably a year later, I'm getting my Lost Season 3 CD signed by him. I give him the CD. He says, oh, it's nice to meet you. I said, I'm the guy that yelled your name at Comic-Con. He's like, oh, went into a story where he's like, I asked my son what his favorite moment at Comic-Con was. Was it Star Wars thing? Was it this? And he said, it's when the guy yelled daddy's name. So I have a Lost Season 3 CD that says, thank you for yelling my name, Michael Giacchino.
And is that Mick, who you're also friends with?
Yes. So cut to 15 years later, I'm at Michael's house at a party. We'd both been drinking, and I decide, to tell him I was the guy that yelled your name.
Yeah.
Thinking he's gonna think I'm a stalker. This relationship is now done, and he's like, and now you're here. How crazy is life? And I said, yeah, that's crazy. And then later I sent a text to Mick. I said, hey, remember at Comic-Con that one time?
That favorite moment of Comic-Con that you had? You're welcome.
He just turned like 25.
Yeah.
He said, oh shit, that was you? And I'm like, yeah. And Mick his shit, I shouldn't say anything. Mick has agreed to work on this project with me as well.
That's very cool.
Anyway.
No. That's not for broadcast. That's awesome.
We're getting there though. I saw stuff yesterday.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll send it to you maybe tomorrow, but I got stuff to do today.
Amazing. Luigi Johnny, thank you. That was a great question. Like, it's so self-indulgent, just talking about ourselves and like our origins of it. But it's nice to be able to do because it's a weird one. It is super weird. Like, you've got weird connections with people all over the place, but like it's a weird one that it's just like, don't really know how all of this aligned, but when it does, it's super cool. And like, it doesn't really matter on the scale that it does. And I'm sure everyone's got weird connections with people. Hell, me and my girlfriend have weird connections with like how we met and this, like, didn't really know each other, but like had a lot of mutual friends, same social circles, like, but different social circles. And so, and it's cool when that stuff works out in good ways. So yeah, thank you, Luigi Johnny. Yeah, super cool. And hopefully, you know, if any of you guys are going to Star Wars Celebration, I've seen recently that people are selling 4-day badges. So I'm going to try, and I think Ed is going to do the same. I think we're going to try and get 4-day badges. So we should be there the whole time. So if anyone is going to be at Star Wars Celebration, let's make weird connections there. Let's do that.
Right.
Yeah. Sonny asked on Instagram. I don't know if he asked, but we said like ask us anything, and he just said alien toes.
Ask us alien toes.
He just said alien toes. I would have felt bad if we didn't mention alien toes because he'd asked it on Instagram and we
Did
said.
Did you mean Ailey-teen? Maybe autocorrected Ailey-teen from Alistair?
2 words, no punctuation, just alien toes. Maybe he
so I'm going to say when the word
Bosk. I just think Bosk.
That's what I thought. I was going to say, when you hear alien toes, what do you think?
Bosk.
I think Bosk as well.
Yep. Just dangling them over the edge of the pool. That guy loves the swimming pool, and he likes just dangling his toes over, like he's on the high dive. Speaking
of one word or like weird phrases, doing sort of a freeform thought, like what that means. What do they call that? Not a Rorschach test, but the one like saying Skyfall, word association.
Yeah.
So when he says alien toes, I think Bosk. Coming up on Sunday. For those of you watching this before Sunday, in Los Angeles at the Dynasty Typewriter, friend of the show, Patrick Kottner, has a weekly improv show that he just set up. He set up in
just moved to December. LA, right?
Yeah, and he already has a weekly improv show that he set up.
It's the least surprising thing. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't have 3.
but people are going to be throwing out one-word suggestions to a monologist who then tells a story, and then the improvs. Performers take that story and make fun scenes out of it.
Awesome. That's another day. That's another day. Like, amazing.
So Michael Giacchino is going to be doing the monologue, and then Bobby Moynihan is going to be one of the performers there. I'm going to just say a future guest of the show. He's agreed to be on it on live action Star Wars. But again, it's fun because Michael, Patrick, and Bobby are all part of this project that I'm working on, and it will be fun to see all of them in one space. So if you want to come join us, it's at 7:30 Pacific time. Well, obviously Pacific time. That
is a
Dynasty type
down the line data link to do, like, with Patrick. Patrick's been on the show a couple of times. It'll be fun to have him on and to have him like recall some of the favorite suggestions, some of the favorite stories that he's had from that. Yeah, that'd be fun to do.
I'm really starting to get antsy.
Yeah. No. We've gone over the time. Like we've got a couple of other odd little questions and stuff. Ed asked about some tabletop RPGs, but that's because I think he's lazy and doesn't want to have to write. He's running an RPG game at the moment, and so he asked if we had any good story hook ideas. But Ed can do his own work.
But this goes to show, if we just put Q&A as a title, that
we can chat about anything.
We'll fill the time.
Fill the time. Yeah.
So this makes me more at ease when it comes to future data links, because we can just do Q&A too.
Yeah. On the move.
But go see if you can find the audio drama.
Yeah. All right.
The radio drama.
That's my homework, is to try and find that, and then might be the next data link, might be down the line, but yeah, at some point as a future data link, we'll be doing at least Star Wars audio dramas. And then
their treatment of Green Lantern,
their company policies in general, I'm not a big fan of. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. They're not. Well, I don't know. I don't have any sort of stake in it, but
I don't think I do either. But whatever.
Yeah, I like that people like them. Enjoy what you like, people. Go get cool stuff. Buy cool
I enjoy Green Lantern. They don't put out Green Lantern stuff, so I don't enjoy it.
I enjoy Scott Pilgrim. They didn't consult or pay Brian Lee O'Malley anything for any of the Scott Pilgrim stuff that they did. How
does that work?
Yeah, I know, right? It's because of Universal. They think they did it through Universal. They made it as a movie tie-in, and he's like, it was their like soda can Scott Pilgrim things that they did. They were, and he like Mal like made a big thing. It was like, no, like please don't buy these. They're awful, and they are pretty awful. Yeah,
I can say if you see advertisements for the Batman Live Symphony, maybe skip out on that.
Yeah,
similar situation.
Yeah. I think that's fair to say.
But go get the Batman. I know Mondo's now owned by Funko, but get the Batman vinyl. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. That's the problem. Like that was that's a shame about Mondo being bought by Funko, but they still do good work. And so I like, so far the quality hasn't, like, the Mondo side of things hasn't been affected by the corporate thing. Corporate structure is weird. Fucking Saudi Arabia just bought the WWE. So like,
is it confirmed yet or not? Who knows?
Not as of the start of this recording. They is not confirmed, but it seems to be. Stephanie's left.
I'm gonna be busy working on the project during Royal Rumble, and I was kind of sad about that, but now I guess I'm not.
I'm not. I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah. You go.
Alrighty.
You got a little bit of a drive and then some fun stuff ahead. Yeah. Go and have a great day and tell Ryan Johnson that I love The Last Jedi.
If I can get the record. If I don't get the record, I'll come straight home.
Yeah.
So, all right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for subscribing and listening to us talk about ourselves.
And thanks for the questions as well. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be back next week. What are we talking about next week, Ralph?
Rebel Assault 2.
Rebel Assault 2. Yes. Great. Can't wait. We were trying to get a guest on, but I'm at work. I got my weeks mixed up, so I'm at work, so probably won't have a guest next week, but you never know. We might. But yeah, it'll be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. We'll put a link to where you can watch the video. But yeah, until then, Ralph needs to hit the road, so don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Punch it.